Welcome to Flipped Lesson 4, Paragraph Basics, Logical Order, Transitions, Connections, Conclusion. This is the third and final lesson in this Paragraph Basics series, all about how to write a strong paragraph. The learning objectives for this lesson: learn how to organize details into a logical order, learn how to use transitions and connect details to the topic sentence, learn to write a conclusion sentence for your paragraph if needed. First, I'd like you to set up your notes. So, to do this, draw a dividing line down the left side of the page, put the date on the top left, and the topic on the top right. Paragraph basics: logical order, transitions, connections, and conclusion. So, as we've reviewed in the previous two lessons, a complete paragraph contains a topic sentence, rich supporting details, sentences in a logical order, transitions to connect the details, and a concluding sentence. And today, we are going to focus on the last three items on this list: sentences in a logical order, transitions to connect details, and a concluding sentence. So, let's start with logical order and/or transitions. What does this mean? Well, it means arrange your evidence in a logical order and include transitions if needed. Let's look at what the rubric has to say about this. The rubric says, sentences flow logically and are all clearly connected to the topic sentence, and several appropriate transitions are used if applicable. And let's start by focusing on just this part in red here. Sentences flow logically. So, how do you do this? How do you make your sentences flow logically? Well, you've chosen the details to include in your paragraph that support your topic sentence. Now, you must consider which detail to include first, next, and last. The order of your details should be logical. There should be a reason for it. So here's an example of an informative sequence paragraph. This task is right here. Describe the steps of making a timeline. And here's an example of an illogical order. So you all know how to make a timeline. An illogical order would put the steps out of order. So take a look. It says, place the events on your timeline, draw a horizontal line across the page, divide the timeline into equal increments, and label each increment. That is not logical, because that's not the order that you actually do the steps. A logical order would be right here below, an order that you actually do the steps. Draw a horizontal line across the page, divide the timeline into equal increments, and label each increment. Place the events on your timeline. So if you're writing a sequence paragraph, make sure that your steps are in the order that you actually do them. Here's another example, an informative paragraph, but this time it's a compare and contrast paragraph. And the assignment here, the task, says, compare and contrast Legos and Duplos. So, an illogical order does not have corresponding information or details in the same order for each topic. So for comparing and contrasting, we're looking at two topics, similarities and differences between two topics. And our two topics here are Legos and Duplos. And so the illogical order example says Legos, many colors, used for building, smaller than Duplos. And our information or details about Duplos are larger than Legos, used for building, many colors. This is not logical because the corresponding details are not together. The details aren't in the same order for each topic. To put it in a logical order, down below, with the corresponding details in the same order for each topic, we got Legos again and Duplos again. And the details about Legos are many colors, used for building, smaller than Duplos. And the details about Duplos are many colors, used for building, larger than Legos. So you can see that the details about color go together, the details about what they're used for go together, and the details about size are together. This is a logical order. And if you wrote a paragraph and this was the order that you wrote your details in, it would make sense. Now, for an argument paragraph, like this one here, should cell phones be allowed in school, generally your reasons should be in order of importance to your audience. So an illogical order would have no apparent order of details. So let's take a look at these details here for this cell phone paragraph. So the first is cell phones can be a great educational tool. Next, cell phones can be used in case of an emergency. And finally, games on cell phones can give kids a break when they need one. These are in order from most important to least important. Another strategy could be to put them in order from least important to most important, thinking that you're going to end strong with the most important reason. Either way is fine, as long as your order has some logic to it. So, we've talked about a sequence paragraph, a compare-contrast paragraph, an argument paragraph. The next example is a cause and effect paragraph. Explain the impacts of the Neolithic Revolution. So again, an illogical order has no apparent order of details, and here's an example of details about the impacts of the Neolithic Revolution. Had to pay taxes, developed a government, learned to farm and domesticate animals. No apparent order there. To put those details in a logical order, they should build upon each other logically, allowing the reader to build knowledge needed to understand details that will come later. So for example, in this example, the order is learn to farm and domesticate animals, and it makes sense that that's first because that's the first cause of the Neolithic Revolution. So it's what happened first, the first impact. The next detail is developed a government, and I'm glad that that's not first anymore because it happened after learning to farm and domesticate animals. And the last detail is had to pay taxes, and it's good that this is coming after government because they needed to develop a government before they paid taxes. The government came before the taxes. And if you hadn't already discussed the government, then it would be hard to understand the paragraph or the details about taxes, because you need a government to pay taxes. So this detail provided some knowledge that was necessary for understanding this one. Okay. So we've talked about how sentences flow logically. Next, we're going to talk about how to make sure that all details and sentences are clearly connected to the topic sentence, and several appropriate transitions are used if applicable. So how do you do this? Well, you use transitions plus words from the topic sentence to start your supporting detail sentences. This keeps the reader's focus on your topic and highlights connections between your details and your topic sentence. So let's look at an example. We're back to this argument paragraph. Should cell phones be allowed in school? So here's the task. And so we've got an answer for our topic sentence right here. This is the topic sentence. Cell phones should be allowed in school for many reasons. Okay? Topic sentence. And now I've got a list of reasons, and these are in a logical order. The order here is from most important to least important, or what I imagine would be most important to my audience to what I imagine would be least important to my audience. And I've started these sentences using a transition and words from my topic sentence. So my topic sentence, once again, says cell phones should be allowed in school for many reasons. Well, in my detail sentences, I've got this transition and then these words from the topic sentence. Cell phones should be allowed in school. So my sentence reads, the first reason that cell phones should be allowed in school is that cell phones can be a great educational tool. In the next sentence, I've done the same thing. The next reason that cell phones should be allowed in school is that cell phones can be used in case of an emergency. And once again, the final reason that cell phones should be allowed in school is that games on cell phones can give kids a break when they need one. So you can see that I've connected each detail to my topic sentence by using words from the topic sentence in the detail sentence. This might seem like it's for younger writers, but in 7th and especially in 8th grade, you're going to be writing about things that are complex and sophisticated. And as your writing gets more complex and more sophisticated, it becomes even more important to be really clear to your readers so that they can follow along with what you're saying. They can follow the complex argument that you're trying to make or the complex information that you're conveying. And the only way that somebody can do that is if you give them lots of clues. So in this example, when I say the first reason here, I'm giving my reader a clue. I'm about to give you a reason. And when I say that cell phones should be allowed in school, I'm reminding my reader what I'm writing about, what I'm trying to prove. And then I provide the new information. Same thing here. Saying the next reason is like a little signpost for my reader. Bells should go off in my reader's head. Oh, they're going to give me another reason here. What are they writing about again? Oh, that cell phones should be allowed in school. And the second reason is the same for the last one. So it's incredibly important that you connect your sentences to the topic sentence by using words from the topic sentence throughout your paragraph. And it's also incredibly important to use these transitions. Now, the last thing that our learning objectives indicated that we were going to talk about today was the concluding sentence. And it's important to end your paragraph with a concluding sentence. The text from the rubric has a concluding sentence that draws a conclusion about the assigned topic based on the details, facts, and examples. So, how do you do this? Well, at the very least, restate your topic sentence using different, preferably stronger words. If possible, take it a step further by expressing what all your supporting details add up to. So here's an example. We're sticking with this argument paragraph here. Should cell phones be allowed in school? And we're sticking with this topic sentence. Cell phones should be allowed in school for many reasons. Then we've got our 3 reasons in a logical order with transitions and words from the topic sentence. And take a look down here at our conclusion sentence. It's right here at the bottom after all of our details. So after we've given 3 clear reasons why cell phones should be allowed in school, we end by saying, clearly, there are many benefits to allowing cell phones in school. So not only have we restated our topic sentence that they should be allowed in school, but we've taken it a step further by saying there are benefits to doing so. Additionally, using the word clearly conveys that we are really sure of ourselves and what the argument that we're making. So this is a great example of a concluding sentence. So let's think back. Our learning objectives were: learn how to organize details into a logical order, learn how to use transitions and connect details to the topic sentence, and learn to write a conclusion sentence for your paragraph if needed. At this point, I'd like you to pause the video and review your notes. And I want you to look for any parts of your notes that are unclear or need more information. And if you find parts of your notes that are unclear or need more information, I want you to go back and watch that part of the video again and complete your notes. When you're done with this, your notes should be totally clear and have all the information that you need. After you're done reviewing your notes and completing them, at the bottom of your notes, draw a line across the page and write a summary of the lesson. 1 to 3 sentences explaining what the lesson was about. Finally, under the summary section, draw another line across the page and write at least one question about the lesson, at least one question about how to do these things. Thanks. Have a great day.